And so I'll go on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have any changes?
Madam Chair, you do not. Agenda is as presented.
All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda for our March 24th special meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, then I'll go down to the consent agenda. We have two things. Consideration of Law Enforcement Protection Fund, annual application. Number 2, consideration of award of bid number 242502, rebid Glade Run Recreation Area Trails Phase 3. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, thank you. We'll move to new business, and we'll have Mayor Duckett and Cynthia Singleton come up. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commission. Thank you for being here today for a special meeting. I'm glad to see we're not the only thing on the agenda because that means there was other reasons for you to meet as well. But we are here today to discuss and hopefully approve our recommendations for renewal of pretty much every kind of insurance except for work comp that we need for the county. And it goes from 331.25 to 331.26. We are very proud that we have choices to make. There are lots of places that don't have many choices anymore because of all the things that are going on in the world. But we can thank lots of people for that effort, largely the management, you guys, and the staff of San Juan County that have put us in a position to be accepted and have a great reputation that allows us to still be given lots of opportunities to have insurance because lots of them don't. With the national disasters, natural disasters that have occurred across the country, I know you guys have watched enough television to know that's changing everybody's insurance. You've probably seen it in your own pockets, and auto and property insurance and things like that. And at New Mexico specific, our wonderful New Mexico civil rights law has started to rear its head, and it's really putting us in a position where we've got a kind of a litigation happy atmosphere. So people are trying stuff at this point. We are very grateful to have a person here with us to help, who is Nate, who is not only the mayor, he is also our broker. And I was here to introduce him so that he can talk you through what our choices were, what they found, and what that means for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Singleton. Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Commission. Nice to be here with all of you again today, and some new faces up here, at least on this platform.
Right.
So I appreciate Cynthia's introduction. I do want to make first a comment on the amazing staff that you all have who help work through these processes, certainly through renewals, but also those who are in management overseeing all the safety that this county is trying to implement, all of our policies and practices, from the hiring and staffing and training to the coaching. One of the things that always plays well when we're talking, at least to those markets who want to be involved in public entity, is the value that they place on a solid group of leadership, and we see that here at San Juan County. So we know we're doing our best. Cynthia and Terry are fabulous to work with. You will not find anybody more knowledgeable, in my opinion, in this state of what's going on inside their county. So her counterparts, she is outstanding. Cynthia and Terry are very aware of what's happening here in the county and are very quick to provide information. So we appreciate that. This year we did have a couple of responders for our request for renewal. Travelers, who's been our incumbent company now for, I think we're a couple decades, at least to some degree. They have come back with their proposal. The New Mexico County's Insurance Authority also provided a proposal, and then a number of markets that we approached continue to stay back as far as they can for public entities. I can tell you, Travelers, who is our incumbent, and they stand by us, they are currently being very very selective if there's going to be any other New Mexico local governments that they look to insure. And a lot of that is happening from policies and laws coming out of Santa Fe. The concern here is obviously with law enforcement. The number of claims in that regard have grown exponentially over the past few years, and the payouts continue to beat records. So we're thankful that Travelers has stood by us, and we're thankful that the County Insurance Authority also provided us a quote this year. We have recommended, and you'll see that on the staff summary report, based upon what those two proposals came out to, and I'll kind of take you into your, should have your summary list there, summary premium list, correct?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. So our total, if we look at the package policy that's provided through Travelers, the package policy that's provided through the Insurance Authority, Travelers this year was $2,143,426. That number is going to look different on your sheet because we're always working. And so from the time that we first put this on paper until today, we've actually had a decrease in the auto physical damage premium. So that's why you're going to see a different number on your sheet. So everything's always a moving target. That is compared to the Insurance Authority's total of $2,857,779. So a substantial premium difference between those two options. We have also reached out, so you know, to a couple of brokers. They work primarily in the non-standard markets to see what might be available out there for public entities. We were given indicators, but nothing firm prior to this meeting, that they do think they would have the ability to put together basically a tower of coverage for all of our broken out, kind of an a la carte insurance component. And they did provide us some information on law enforcement, and there was a competitive, but again, I can't share numbers that aren't real. These are just kind of swag estimates of where they thought they would be. What that tells me is that there's potential options out there in the private markets to assist the county with what they're doing. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. So that is what we would call an apples to apples comparison between the two quotes. For clarity, the Insurance Authority provided us a 9-month quote. They like their policies to go from January 1st to January 1st. Because we fall into this March 31st, their quote only was a 9-month. So we made sure that we validated the full 12-month premium, and Lori Urban with the Association of Counties did provide that information to us. So those numbers that are presented here for them are a full 12-month premium quotes. Any questions at this point?
Any questions, comments?
I'm good.
All right.
Some of these lines outside of the package, so when we're talking package, you know, it's property. It's inland marine, which is our equipment, our contractors' equipment, general liability, the employee benefits liability, law enforcement. All of those are kind of in this package all the way down to the umbrella. After the umbrella, we get into some of our coverage lines that fall outside of that, and that's where we go to market to try and find competitive quotes. So for example, cyber liability this year, last year our total for $3 million was over $90,000. This year we're able to do the $3 million for $69,000. $21,000 in savings. What that tells me is a couple things. One, Corvus, who is our carrier for the $2 million this year, Corvus and your IT department have built a very, very tight relationship. I believe our IT department is implementing a number of the recommendations that Corvus has in order to shore up our cybersecurity, and they like what we're doing. So kudos to the IT team for the work they're doing. This, of course, still remains, when we talk about cyber, it is still a huge exposure out there for everybody. I know it's sitting at City Hall. We have a TV on the wall that shows how many times an entity is trying to ping into our system, and it is just constantly rolling. So I think having that great partnership between, well, one, having a robust IT department that is smart and they're engaged and looking for everything ahead of time and working with their partner within the cybersecurity liability market, I think those things go together well. So we're excited to say that we've saved some additional dollars on that. Aircraft liability is another outside carrier that provides that information. We added a helicopter last year, if you recall. We had not had hull coverage, which is the actual physical damage coverage on our prior one because it was so old. This last year we've added that, but at a comparison quote, we had a company come in that was interested. They wanted to try and quote it. And we managed to get that exact same coverage with a little bit bump in our whole coverage for a significant savings. So last year we paid $71,254. This year we're at $47,260. So while we're seeing on law enforcement, for example, we're seeing premiums going up there. Property, we're seeing premiums go up there. Auto, you're seeing premiums go up there. All those things are tied to claims. They're tied to reserve claims right now. For example, for law enforcement, which includes our adult detention center, juvenile detention centers, we have about $3 million in reserve money sitting in our claims account or traveler's claims account to pay out claims from those losses. That is part of the reason why we've moved to the $250,000 deductible. For forever and a day, we were at $50,000, and that was a great place to be. But anymore, you're finding that the minimum requirement will be $250,000. Now, the insurance authority, I'm going to make sure I clarify those two things. They did provide lower deductibles for law enforcement. But if you go down and look at law enforcement liability and you compare the two quotes, the insurance authority came in at $1.6 million and travelers came in at $986,000. To get the $50,000 deductible would have been closer to $2 million for total law enforcement liability. So significant increase in premiums from where we're currently at. Now there is a requirement with this traveler's policy, something that we were made aware of last year when we went to the $250,000 deductible, and that's a requirement of collateral. And that collateral can be provided in the form of a letter of credit, which our treasurer, Carol Talby, Mike Stark, Joe Sawyer have all been working on. And I think we've got, is my understanding, potentially a really nice situation for us. So we're going to be able to take care of that collateral requirement through travelers at a minimum, if any, dollars out of the county budget. So that's good news too. Questions on that? Let me make sure I clarify. Okay. We are still right now looking at potential for an improvement on our crime policy, just to see if we can get that premium down. On the property side, I want to make sure you all know this last year we were able to put over 20 of our buildings that are located at McGee Park. We've got that added to our flood policy with travelers. New Mexico Insurance Authority would not add those properties to their proposal. So I mean, that's a significant number of buildings that now have flood as a peril, which we all know this last year we had some tremendous rains and wind, and it sits very close to the river, so potential for damage there exists. So I think that's important to have that coverage. We've also added 6 of our radio towers that had not been on the policy prior. Those have been added. These will be for radio towers that are over $400,000 in value. So we've had those added to the property policy as well. When all is said and done, I guess I should mention this as well. When we analyze the New Mexico County's Insurance Authority's quote, there is what you'll see on page 2 of the premium summary, a total ML/LE capital adequacy payments of $307,967. That, as I understand, is to shore up their general fund to make sure that they're able to pay out claims associated with the increase we're seeing in law enforcement's claims, certainly throughout the I-25 corridor. And I can tell you a number of those local governments, they're having a real hard time finding any potential insurance markets outside of the pool. And I'm happy to say that we're not in that situation, but we are managing ours the best that we can. Looking at all lines premium, again, this is a number that's going to move a little bit because of some little tweaking we're going to do, but it's going to stay roughly right about $2,384,320 total. And below that, I want to make sure we point out another important difference between the traveler's renewal and the insurance authority. One of the things we've been concerned with over the years is we know that claims get reported after policy periods end, okay? So if ours is a March 31st to a March 31st policy period, There's potential that a loss occurred or a claim occurred in January before that policy expired, but may not get reported until after the new policy goes in force. With Travelers, we have it written on what they call an occurrence form, which means if so long as you had coverage with Travelers for that year when the claim is reported, you have coverage. With the associate or the insurance authority, they're on a claims made form. So those claims reported within the year that that policy was in force are covered. But if we were to switch over to the insurance authority and move all of our business there, and we get to the end of the year, maybe we start seeing, again, some assessments coming up, some concerns, and we get a better quote with somebody else and we want to move the policy, if there are any claims that are reported from the prior policy year where we were with the insurance authority, afterwards, there's no coverage for it. That's a bad place to be. So where we have been going every year with them, because they quoted this, I think 3 years ago, is we've asked them to provide us what we call tail coverage. And that tail coverage would provide, as you see it listed here, 3 years of coverage after the expiration of the policy term with them. You could get 3 years of coverage, and then they provided an estimate of what that premium would be. So you'll see that noted on the far right-hand column. So between law enforcement, general liability, and property for 3 years of coverage, we're anticipating nearly $1 million of additional expense that the county would have to pay to have that peace of mind for 3 years. You don't have that issue with Travelers. So that's another benefit as well. I will stand for any questions.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments? I just wanted to say thank you. This is a very in-depth summary of comparing what we're seeing here and also things that are kind of not as obvious, not that it's not transparent, but it may not have been obvious just by looking at the different categories.
Sure.
So, and we just want to be good stewards of the monies that come in here. And we live in such an environment of uncertainty right now that we want to really make sure that financially we're sound in the decisions that we make. So thank you for doing this.
Madam Chair, thank you. We appreciate it. And certainly if Mr. Kaiser was here today, he had some other things he had to run and take care of, but he would just tell you how much he appreciates the continued partnership between San Juan County and a locally owned broker. We preach it all the time. I know you all do as well. We try and do business local where we can, and I stand firmly that Kaiser Levitt provides great resources and continued training. And this past year, we were able to bring Travelers in. We did a full command training for our individuals, our command staff at the Adult Detention Center. Continue to find those added on, resources where we can be of benefit to you all. So,
and I appreciate that. That's a big deal, helping the leadership and passing it down.
Well, we have great leadership at the county.
I agree. I agree. All the people out there on the ground.
That's it.
So thank you for that. Any
Yes.
other comments or questions?
I'm good.
All right.
Do we need to ask for votes?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Duckett.
Thank you.
All right. So since there's no further comment or questions, do I have a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the renewal of the property casualty insurance as presented by Nate Duckett
I'll second that.
to go with the Travelers.
Okay.
Travelers, right.
premium.
Okay. All right. So I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
And also, thank you too, Carol. All right, so now I'll need a motion to go into closed session.
I'm sure we have one more item left.
Oh, I'm sorry, I marked it off and just skipped right over it. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mr. Stark.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. As you might remember from the last meeting, I had mentioned to you as a result of the trip to DC, we became aware that FY26 congressionally directed spending request applications would become available from our congressional delegation. And so, and that happened shortly after we arrived back here in San Juan County. The applications for funding this year are due back by March 28th for Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, April 1st for Senator Ben Ray Lujan, and a deadline for Senator Heinrich has not been determined at this time. And, you know, probably worthy to let you all know that we had submitted FY25 congressionally directed spending request projects, and those have not been funded and are currently in limbo. So FY26, we may just be going through the motions in an exercise here to put some projects, or what we're going to recommend to you is a project forward to the congressional delegation. But I think the likelihood of funding is probably not great. So I just want to make sure we set expectations from the start as it relates to this request. We were advised by the congressional delegation for the best possible results for FY26. We probably commission want to focus on public safety equipment apparatus, specifically apparatus and not buildings, because that becomes a far more complex matter when you're dealing with the federal government on funding facilities. And we did meet, as a result of that, we met with the undersheriff as well as the fire chief to talk about different needs that they may have, and the sheriff's office shared with us that they feel like they've been very well supported by the county commission on different requests through time here, specifically congressional directed spending requests. You know, they're the recipient of the new mobile command center, and I know some of you got to participate with that ribbon cutting. The virtual reality use of force simulators request that was funded. Of course, the helicopter and associated building, which wasn't a congressionally directed spending request, but certainly some good investment within the law enforcement community at the sheriff's office. So they actually deferred to the fire department and said, you know, we'd really like to see if there's a way to help the fire department out. And so Chief Vega and team, last year we submitted and still potentially have working on the FY25 requests, a ladder truck for the Lee Acres Fire Station and a fire engine. So those two are still hanging in the balance. And the most sizable of those two projects would be the ladder truck. It's a approximate $2.4 million price tag and probably rising by the day, if not the minute, in terms of costs. We had a quote included within your packet that actually was the quote we provided last year with our FY25 request. And so Chief Vega and team would given that the congressional delegation is indicating that a public safety apparatus would be the best project to put forth, knowing we currently have one, project potentially working, but if for some reason, that doesn't work out, we would like to request and recommend to the commission that we put forth this year for FY26 a ladder truck of $2.4 million to the congressional delegation. Submit that to all three. I know in years past we would try to break up requests and give one to the congresswoman, one to the senator and another one to the senator, make them all different projects. But given the uncertainty of funding and just the fact that is probably the highest apparatus need within the fire department, especially given the cost of the piece of apparatus, that would be what we would put forth to you. In previous years, the request from the federal government specific to fire apparatus is that a 25% match accompany that request. So that would mean that we'd need to put forth a match of $600,000. Of course, if we were funded to the tune of the difference of 2.4 million, that difference of 1.8 million, we'd happily put forth 600,000 to get a $2.4 million piece of equipment. So with that, I can stand for any questions you might have, and if you had any specific questions about the apparatus itself, I know Chief Vega and team are here to handle those.
Are there any questions or comments about this? No? All right.
When would we, excuse me, Madam Chair, if we recommend this, by when would that truck be ready? That ladder truck, 2027?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Gonzalez, I would actually defer to our fire chief to provide you with an update on when a ladder truck might become available. What we generally have seen, it's anywhere from 36 months to 48 months on other pieces of apparatus, but it might be a little longer on a ladder truck. I would defer to our fire chief.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, I would echo Mr. Stark's comments. The build time for apparatus right now, depending on the vendor and the specs that you're looking at, anywhere from a 3 to 3.5 year build time. If we were fortunate enough to receive these funds, we would try to find a demo engine, much like the engine that we were able to, excuse me, a demo ladder truck, something that's already built, not as customized as we normally would, but something that we could get in a shorter times. But if we're doing a decked out, spec'd out custom ladder company, I would say not less than 3 year build time.
And that price could easily jump up to $3 million by that time.
I would, Madam Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, I would say that's a certainty.
Right. I just wondered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your
All right.
consideration.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion on this item?
So what are we, so our motion is to approve the ladder truck,
No, this right here.
just the,
Congressional.
just to request money from them. Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could, it actually would be two things. One is that the ladder truck would be submitted to all 3 members of our congressional delegation for consideration within each of their application processes. And then also the match, if we were so awarded, the match for $600,000 to accompany that. And we wouldn't have to make good on that unless we were awarded. I forgot to mention that earlier, the match. Only if we were awarded would we budget the $600,000. But like I mentioned, we would happily do so in return for that level of investment into the fire department.
Okay, so need to specify for a new ladder truck?
That we would submit that, Madam Chair, to all 3 members of the delegation
Okay.
for consideration. Of course, it's up to them to determine whether they would like to support that effort. And then, of course, it's ultimately up to Congress and the president to determine if they would support funding for a congressionally directed spending request. So there's a lot of unknowns in this process, and probably not a high likelihood of success, but we do know one thing: if we're not in the game, we
Right.
definitely won't get funded. So we'd like to be in the game for consideration.
Okay. So to approve the consideration of the FY 2026 congressionally directed spending request for the ladder truck to all 3 members of the delegation.
And to include
The $600,000.
the $600,000 match if awarded.
So
Okay. You have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a second over here. I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, I'll take
Now,
a
Madam
motion.
Chair, I will make a motion that we move into closed session.
Okay, and I'll let him read off, thank you, and I'll let him read off. You can second it by reading that off.
Okay. I move that we go into the closed executive session to discuss the following items pursuant to section 10-15-1, H2-7, to discuss the pending litigation of the Hems Mountain Electric Cooperative versus the state of New Mexico.
Okay, I have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So we'll go into close, thank you. Okay, then we just need to do this.
Okay.
Somebody second it? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
You good, Devin?
Return from closed session. We've returned from closed session. The matter discussed in closed session were limited to those specified in the motion for closure. That's it.
Is that enough to be said?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. So with that, everything good, Devin? Okay, we'll adjourn. Okay, thank you.
Brenda, thank you for lunch and all you did.
Okay.